Hello and welcome back to Progressive Mindset with myself, Jason Kemsley.
And me, Bradley Monday. And today we're going to spend the next 20 to 30 minutes going back and forth over the question, what is success?
It's probably a good place to point out if you're looking for a hard-hitting, super-driven outcome-based podcast, the last one is for you. This one's a bit more light, a bit more thinking. This should be a good, easy listen and get the creative juices flowing, I think.
Thought-provoking is what we're aiming for.
That's the word I was looking for. You want to kick us off before we get into a debate?
Yeah, so my view, just a bit of background for me on this, and we talked in our last episode about how marketing has changed and the audience has changed. In the same vein, we're on social media and we're seeing all these idyllic lives that everyone leads. You know, people are putting out a false representation of themselves, and you can spend a bit of time online and see that everyone's life is wonderful other than your own. And this is my driver behind wanting to talk about success. I think we've lost our ability largely to set goals. We're more worried about what we haven't got and what life hasn't handed us, to actually, here's how we work, and we work damn hard towards these things to get a longer term success and get that dopamine release at the end rather than needing it now.
I completely agree, and I'm going to talk about an example I saw later, but I do believe there is a new problem in the entrepreneurial mind, which is comparing yourself to others, looking at what you've got or they've got that you haven't, and vice versa, and actually taking away from the roots, which is it's about the cool bit that you're doing. It's about the journey, and you definitely got to enjoy that journey along the way. Otherwise, why else? You can't do it solely for the outcome. The best entrepreneurs, the best businesses, they loved what they do. If you look at Elon Musk sleeping on the floor of Tesla, he didn't do that for the billions. If you look at Bill Gates, and I do these tech ones, there's countless others. But you got to enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy the process of getting there.
And at the same time, it's going to be hard work, right? We
Absolutely.
are telling our young people and all that sort of stuff that actually you don't need to work hard to achieve these things, and they can be, whether it be wealth or some other form of success, however you measure that, can be achieved with actually very little effort. That couldn't be further from the truth. I think everyone that I know that has achieved things worth achieving has had to graft damn hard and then looks back and takes it easy, those kind of things after the hard graft. I don't think there's any way around it. If you want success, regardless of how you measure it or look at it, you're going to have to graft and work really hard. But back to your point is you've got to enjoy the working hard. Otherwise, you're just not going to find the drive.
Absolutely. For me, and when we were brainstorming, as we always do, to make sure this is super potent and useful, I realised I had 3 different areas of definition for success.
Mm-hmm.
I had success for myself, success for the business, and success for the customer. I had 3 typical areas I think I can definitely talk about. I wanted to start with, some humility or vulnerability, in that I only recently realised that I had a very crap measure for success. I have grown for a number of years thinking that the end goal was something financial.
Okay.
And
it is for many.
And I think it's part of the problem, to be completely honest, in my eyes. Because when you reach that financial goal, not much changes. Yes, you can do other things, but life is still life. Business is still business. Yep. Working hard is still working hard. Everything means the same. And so it's been an exploration that I've gone through recently of what is the subsequent, what is it about money that I'm looking for? And I realised that my actual goal and my actual success would be, I'd like a place in another country.
Okay.
That I can work from or visit as frequently or as infrequently as I would like, but still while working. And that is now a completely different target for me. That actually gets me fired up, because I'm not going for something untangible that
Yeah.
is quite a scary thing anyway. I'm going for something tangible. I want that time with loved ones. I want that, I like the idea of being able to go work in a hot country because we're not blessed with heat in the UK. And when I changed that mindset and changed it, I'm actually starting to enjoy the process quite a lot more than I did, because it was all about grit your teeth because of that end goal. Grit your teeth because of that end goal.
And when it's something along the lines of money as well, the end goal changes, as you alluded to there, is right. It just, well, when is enough? Whereas when you've got something such as property, in your case, you can arrive
Absolutely.
at that and then move. It's not to say I've arrived at my goals, I never do another one. You need to. That's what life is. I think that's where you get your enjoyment from, is achieving and striving to reach new heights, right? But at least there's an end. You can stop, you can rest, you can recuperate before moving on to the next. Now, I know you to be a goal. You've been a goal setter for a long time, and I think that's where, for a long time, we differed. So I'll talk about my side of things in a minute. But tactics, how do you goal set, and how has that changed over time?
I've got a bit worse at it.
Okay.
As you reach or get closer to them, I've become a bit more lackluster at them. So I used to sit down with my partner every 3-4 months or so, and we'd write down. She'd write down everything she wanted to achieve in the next 3 months. I'd write down everything I wanted to achieve in the next 3 months. Some materialistic, some not materialistic, and then we'd write down the 3 things we wanted to achieve together.
Across 3 months?
Across 3 months typically, and a lot of them intertwine when you're obviously in a relationship with someone for a long time. And so, for example, we'd have one, we wanted to have a weekend away in the next 3 months, or we wanted to have X in our savings for a rainy day, so that we've got that peace of mind and that stress off us. And a lot of mine are do X with a family member. So every 3 months we typically do them. And this quarter, we've been pretty rubbish at them, to be truthful. And sometimes that happens. And you have to be as accepting of not hitting them as accepting of hitting them, if you like. It's not consistently possible to hit everything. You get periods where you have ill health, or, a family member has a difficulty, and so you spend some time helping them. It's being comfortable in, okay, I'll do that in the next 3 months, or... has been the biggest change for me.
Okay. So, I'm just trying to pausing there to think how that differs to where I am. So, I know that when I was growing up, as it were, in my teens, my late teens, my early 20s, I didn't goal set at all. I was just working hard and doing something that I was super passionate about. But I do think that runs out eventually. You can only do that for so long before it loses direction. I was consuming knowledge like a sponge, and I think that's okay to a point. And then I do more long-term goal settings. So 10 things across 10 years is something that I've been doing in more recent years. And you just go through and you'll cross some off, and then you add some new. So there's always 10 things that I'm working towards across the next 10 years. And
does one of them involve working with me?
I should know. I should know off the top of my head. I don't know that there's anything specific in there for you at the moment, okay. Jason.
That's my definition of success, is when I make your list of 10 things in 10 years.
Fantastic. All right, I'll bear that in mind when I review them next year. But on there's a whole mix of stuff, and the reason I like the 10-year thing is it allows you to aim for. I went through a period recently of asking everyone, what's your Everest? What mountain are you currently trying to climb? And the 10-year thing is far enough away that you can climb an awful lot of mountains. There are definitely some people that are working on their life's work that needs way longer. But for me and everything that I wanted to achieve, 10 years is long enough. And then what I do is I sit down and I look at those longer term goals and work out what I need to be doing now.
Yep.
To try and focus on them. And I guess where we differ there is your 3-month journey. You've sort of said, well, your life is going on and you never know what curveball you're going to get thrown. You have to be prepared for some failure. Whereas my 10-year goals don't allow for failure. I will be bitterly disappointed if I get 10 years from when they were set and I mark the year in which I put them on.
Absolutely.
There's nothing to say you can't take them off, because actually that's no longer of interest or something along those lines. But acceptance of failure or having a percentage, I think you need to define the level of, for me, you need to define the level of failure that is acceptance. I know we do it within the business. Here's the things we're going to achieve across the next quarter within the business. And you allow yourself, because life gets in the way, a certain percentage of failure.
And I think it's a super interesting topic that our two methodologies suit our personality types. You are able to stay hungry looking at that long-term vision. I struggle with that. I need to feel like I'm ticking things off regularly to feel like I'm making progress. Otherwise, I feel like I'm stagnant or whatever. So it's interesting how we've used the methods that best. And I think that is possibly a good lesson in itself. Is in a business you create goals and targets based on your core values and your why, etc. That's because you know what suits you best. In our scenarios, we've set goals based on what suits personality best. I wanted to touch upon. We had the pleasure of meeting Gary Vaynerchuk last year. I saw he's a very well known social media business expert. Is probably the best way of describing him. Obviously, he's probably watching, so apologies for that bad description. But he was talking to I think it was a 22-year-old, a young man, and he said, "I just feel like I'm not going to reach my goals." And he said, "What's your goal?" And the chap said, "I'd like to earn 6 figures and I'd like a big house." And his response was, and verbatim almost, "I've met thousands of people like you. Your goal is never going to be attainable because it's something that just keeps moving. It's nothing realistic. Yes, you can have 6 figures, but you get to 100 and you say, actually, I meant 800. I wanted a big house. What was that? Was that a 7-bedroom house, a 10-bedroom house, a 12-bedroom? You're always going to want the next thing." And it was super interesting hearing him say, this is one of the biggest problems I face in the people I meet, is they set goals that even when you reach them, nothing's changed.
I can, so just pausing there to take that all in. It's about the specifics, right? It's also about making sure that it's specific and measurable. So
Absolutely.
If you want to live in a 3-bed house within the next 5 years or whatever that might be, you want to, let's start talking about the location and really, so you need to be able to visualize these things. I think the big thing for me about goals is having the faith in yourself that you can achieve them. If it's an I wish, it needs to be an I will.
Yep.
This is what I will do across the next 5 years, 10 years, even shorter, should that be work for you. I think that's probably, for me, the bigger thing is when people talk about where they're going in life. A lot of people don't take the time to think about it.
Yep.
Loads of people that don't do that. But also, when they do think about it, it's a bit wishy-washy. Really define that. Get it written down. Writing them down and having your goals on paper, and I know that you are the same with this, is that's absolutely number one. If you don't write it down and don't commit it, there's an element of not committing it to yourself.
Yeah, hold yourself accountable. Absolutely. And if you've got a significant other, they'll hold you accountable because it should have them in mind in some way, shape or form. Would be my relationship advice, is to have them looped into that in some way.
So I buy into that, and I have a very supportive partner as well. But I think it's about having someone in your corner. Absolutely. There have definitely been partners and those kind of things where actually, if you're talking about taking a big leap, let's say that goal is quite far reaching, there's going to be a fear that comes up in your significant other that says, hang on a minute, that's a risk. That's a risk to me as well. It's a risk to our livelihood, where we live, those kind of things. That can cause negativity to. And that's the beauty of an entrepreneur, right? We reach for things that other people would not reach for. We have the daring the daring nature to say, we're going to do Y, or we're going to create this thing that topples all these other things in the market. And it's that hunger and that beauty which many people can't understand. Yeah, it does. Oh, it doesn't. I'm not saying that it comes from a bad place. Some people
Yeah,
will absolutely throw negativity out there just to try and bring you down a peg or two. But other people, they just cannot fathom where you're going, the risks that you're talking about taking, and as a result, they want you through love and through care to urge caution.
absolutely.
And that.
And there's so many examples of this. The people that quit college to go and follow a passion, or didn't go to university because there are common traditional examples where, rightfully so, parents have gone, whoa, you need a backup option, and actually they've turned that, they've used that fuel to turn into some sort of success in whatever space they do. There's the other area that's very much myself. I think success for the business is then very different again. That's another definition of success for me. It ties into my success in some way, shape, or form. But it is, the metrics are, and what it looks like, are completely different.
Largely, that's taking others on a journey as well, right? The business it goes beyond oneself, and you're going to need to look at this as a collective and get more people bought in. You can go and have a crazy idea that you're going to go and do some crazy thing, and you can drive yourself towards that, and it's only you sort of stopping you, standing in your own way. With a business, there's a lot more people within that you need to get bought in to the idea.
But the same rules apply. It needs to be a bit specific. It can't be some wishy-washy, untangible goal, or you can't have something that you don't really notice that you've met it. You have something that people can buy into, but success in the business is, possibly not a bad thing to have some financial in there.
Is how most businesses are measured, if not all, is, well, where did you get to? But also some businesses have got a really powerful mission, especially if you're a non-profit. Like, actually, it's the mission, it's the meeting, the mission.
It's about the difference we make.
Yep. The impact that you're having on the world, right? But the same principles apply. We mentioned sort of having someone in your corner for your personal goals. Within the business, I think it's quite normal that there will be people that you surround yourself with that are very good at what they do, but for whatever reason, and there can be many, they want to bring those goals down a little bit to make them more attainable.
Yep.
It's your job as a leader to really push the ceiling on those goals.
Absolutely. And your job as an entrepreneur is to push people further than they thought they could reach.
Absolutely.
As a collective, because otherwise we would be stagnant. I heard this morning, just driving in, somebody say the job of a leader is to cause professional or financial growth in your business year on year. Agreed. And I think that's a fairly good, accurate statement for what we're discussing. After business, I think, and this is a super big one for me at the moment, I'm thinking about it a lot, is what is success to our customer, the customer that we're going for. And I actually have a really interesting example about this. I recently was investigating a product. It was a certain type of SaaS product. I'd evaluated 3 or 4 options, and I don't want to get into sales tactics, etc. But I jumped onto this call, and the very first thing they done was pull up a Word document on screen share.
Right.
And they had a couple of questions on there, and I can't remember some of them. And the very first question was, what does a successful partnership look like to me if I was to start purchasing or using their software? And I thought, that's a really interesting question. And I thought about it more and more, and we wrote down what success would look like. Every single thing I done with them, they looped back in that original content. Maybe not, verbatim wrote it, but when we were talking about pricing, okay, well, that's that, and that enables us to get the best people in this area, so that, and it always looped back into what success looked like for me. And it made me really start thinking about how we capture success for our customers.
Yeah.
Because success is a moving metric, right? I could name so many scenarios where success on day one, we reach, but then we're still aiming for that, but their success has moved to evolution part 2.
Yeah, you've hit the goal. Let's move that, and now let's go and achieve something else together, right? That's what that is.
Absolutely.
But you've neglected, I guess, to have that conversation with your customer. That's QBRs. That's, you should be regularly having conversations. You just need to mold that in to your conversation, but it also works really, really well to qualify you out. If success looks like something that you absolutely can't deliver for that potential customer, thank you very much. Maybe you want to go and speak to XYZ, but it's not going to be us that's going to deliver that for you. So I see that as being something that can work both ways. As a, hey, we can really help you here and we can really drive towards that, but also that's not going to happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really, I mean, I don't know if I'm unique here, but it really made me wonder why more people don't ask such a simple question. I can't think of any other organisation or business or person that I've spoke to that has said, what does success look like to you? Other than my therapist, who said, what do you want to get out of this journey? And ironically, they are two things that they're both obviously super important, but they're both because they expect an end to a natural end. This isn't a forever thing.
Okay.
And they're trying to work out, how do we help you reach that? And then I suspect in my yearly review, 6-monthly review, whatever, what do you want to get out of the next part of it or whatever? And it really is a really interesting question that I don't think we ask.
Oh, I would agree. It doesn't get asked enough, but it just makes that whole customer journey super transparent.
Absolutely. What about, you do a lot of interviews. Do you talk about what success is?
First question.
Success is to them.
Yeah, absolutely. We focus in on 3 to 5 year period. Where do you want to be? So yes, in a sense, that's the same thing. Is I know that we can influence somewhere across 3 to 5 years. We've got really quite good tenure, and so 3 to 5 years tends to be that. Where do you want to be then?
And do you use that to qualify them out in the same way?
Absolutely. It's either you're looking for something that we can support along the way, or you're doing. So, if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut in the next 3 to 5 years," we can't. We've got nothing to give for that. So immediately we will. If there's advice that I can give, hey, here's where you should be going and looking for that kind of stuff. But it's not going to be here. And that goes into many other things to creating a good team, because you've got people that want to go in approximately the same direction, or they can all give to each other in their relative journeys. And then we check in on that. That becomes part of your regular review. I think as part of a business, making sure you're all driving towards the business success, but also individual success is really important.
Absolutely. I'd love to put you on the spot here if I can.
Go on.
I think the biggest problem with this question is most people assume they know the answer. You deal with, and this isn't a good or bad thing, you deal with a lot of our financials, possibly arguably one of the most important parts of any business. And most people assume they know what success looks like in financials, profit.
Okay.
When you engaged with an accountancy or an accountant, do they ever talk about what success looks like? That's just an area that comes to mind when success could mean different for everyone. It could be cash flow. It could be profit. It could be break even but deliver a good service. Do you talk about that when?
Not in my experience. We've worked with a few. They tend to want to focus in on where they're going to be able to impact your business the most. So you get sold on how they're going to make you more tax efficient, or our current one does regular reviews. But it's all about, as are many businesses, them driving what they believe you want. Absolutely. Rather than having that come out
tailored.
Yeah.
And I think there is a new gap in the market. We're seeing some of these new brands or businesses start up where it is really tailored to what you define as success. And it just really strikes me in that market. And there's lots of other markets as well, but they've assumed what they think you want.
And that's always been, I think that is, as business and we evolve as people, that's going to change. It was if you go back a number of years, you were told what you wanted.
Yeah.
Through form of we had a conversation in the last episode about that captive audience. Ultimately, advertising just brainwashed you into believing this is what you wanted. And then as the internet has allowed us to have a little bit more freedom in terms of what we view and consume, it's been much more focused around understanding the customer and then delivering something that you believe they want. And I think you're talking about the next iteration, or the iteration we're just going into, which is going to be that, hey, we've got to deliver tailored solutions to a point to our customer. I think you go too tailored. We've definitely been burnt by this in our earlier days, as I think many people are, is you go too tailored and then actually you just don't deliver quality to anyone. But
Absolutely, yep.
to understand the goal, I think we're gonna see that pop up in more areas.
And I think it's a super exciting time to be an entrepreneur with this shift. If we look at a lot of the traditional ways are being challenged, whether that is marketing, whether that is sales, whether that is operations and bringing in AI, whatever part or product, drop shipping, it doesn't matter what you look at. The traditional elements of the industries are all being challenged in some way, shape or form.
Yep.
And so really we can dial back to what does success look like, and almost start with a bit of a blank sketchbook. And you can rewrite the rules a little bit. If I think and I believe this, knowing you, but maybe not the case. If an accountancy firm managed to cold call you and get through to you, and you entertained it, and they said, Bradley, what does success look like to you of this partnership? I think it's something really powerful that grabs you.
Yeah, it goes back to relationships, relatable stuff. Is with at that point you're talking about the person on the other end of the phone rather than trying to sell them an idea.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, in terms of sales tactics, it would. There's definitely a part of me that went, absolutely not. I wouldn't. No, I will not. I will not bow to a cold call. But yeah, it's definitely, they're off to a better start than you would have been if you're just trying to sell me a product.
And it's not that you're getting anything currently wrong, right? You're realizing that they can help you reach your goals, and there's something super strong and powerful about that. Is the goals I write every 3 months. If a week after I've wrote them, you said to me, "Hey Jason, what does success look like? I can help you reach that." Absolutely, that's one of the most powerful things someone could do for me. And if you're planning on sales calling me and you're listening, I'm now conscious of it. But it's definitely something. There's some synergy there between you, the business, the customer, and I mean, you could take this widespread relationships. What is it that you want out of this?
Make sure you're on the same
across life, right?
Of course. I asked my partner this the other day: is where do you want to be? I wanted to make sure that had been something she'd thought about, and that when she gets a little bit further down the line in her life, she doesn't look back and go, "I wish I'd done something different."
Yep. And
that's definitely had some effect. She's now talking about some of these goals and some things that she otherwise wouldn't have thought about. So I think it's important that that's a partnership, right? Whether it be in business, at home, it's to push and evolve each other.
Absolutely. There's one quick bold statement I'd like to make, and you may want to disagree with this. I'm sure there is a correlation between burnout of entrepreneurs and not accurate goal setting.
Not at all. I'm fully on board with that. If you know where you're going, you know where you're heading, you know when it's going to end, and you can strive for that and you can enjoy it. I think the burnout comes from working hard and
feeling like you're not getting very far.
Yep, because you don't know where you're going.
Absolutely.
And you're always going to not get very far when you don't know what that end goal is.
And it is, and I just say that because it's entirely possible someone listening to this podcast has found us because they're stuck, or they're in that place that I think everyone's been in, where I don't enjoy it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore, or I feel like I've had enough, or burnt out. Think about whether it's because you've set some either really unattainable goals, or you've set goals that aren't very specific and actually are very difficult to ever reach.
Agreed. The only thing I will disagree with is the unattainable goals. I do strongly believe that if you have the faith, the unbreakable faith that you can achieve something, and that you still have that burning desire as well. There's a difference between believing you can get there and still having the drive and the energy to go there. You possibly just haven't broken it down enough. what's the next milestone? What's the next milestone? To keep that burning desire. It's very, very difficult to just be trudging along forever and ever and ever, right? Or what feels like. So breaking down those goals into smaller attainable chunks is how we climb. That's how you climb Everest, right? And I think that's my takeaway to the 10-year goals is you've got to be just, right, the next chunk is this. This is what I'm doing right now. And that'll get you to your unattainable goals will become attainable if you do that.
My brain is going off in so many different areas. I think the key thing I would love people to take away from this is set some goals in all areas of your life. This doesn't have to be a time intensive task, but it really does improve, I think, the quality of life, the satisfaction of reaching them. I struggle to stop and go, oh wow, well done, Jason, look at what you've done.
Celebrate the goal. Yeah,
people do it for me, and I think, but I'm not at my goal yet. And so setting some goals really does help with, I think, that quality of life. And I would strongly encourage people to set them in all areas, personal, relationship even. You can take this as far as you want to take it. Family goals, to go away once a year as a family, whatever that may be, is take that to the fullest extent you can, whether that is starting small or going all the way. That'd be something I'd love people to take away from this.
Absolutely. For me, I'm going to say, rather than look for success, look at what brings happiness. Where does because that is success, right? For a lot of people. So what's going to drive you to that position, and then how do you get there and start getting that down on paper, read it, repeat it regularly, and I think you're well on your way.
I hope so. And thanks for watching and listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
See you soon.